It's 2:50 p.m. and we're back on the record.
Mr. Borelli, you have in front of you what's been marked Exhibit 30, MNK T10000384679. This is an email from you to Steve Cochran dated 6/18/2010, subject Oxy. Do you see that?
I do.
Can you read your email, please? Out loud.
Let's talk when you get a moment about Florida and Oxy sales, as well as Sunrise Wholesalers, and in parentheses, and Paragon as well. Safe travels, go Yankees.
Okay. And so you sent this email to Mr. Cochran on June 18, 2010, and you are asking him specifically to talk about Florida and Oxy sales, correct? And do you recall why you were asking him about Florida and Oxy sales?
I do not.
There's nothing stands out in your mind as you sit here today about this time period that would suggest to you any particular reason to talk about Oxy and Florida sales?
It's 8.5 years ago, so I'm sorry, I do not.
And there's a reference to Sunrise Wholesalers. Do you know why you were talking to Mr. Cochran about Sunrise Wholesalers?
I do not.
I'm going to try and use this then. We hand it to him as well. The witness. See what we got. Yeah. There's 2 pages. I want to go through it.
And then you could just scroll it up accordingly.
Thank you.
Mr. Borelli, you've been handed what is marked Exhibit 31. And on the bottom of the first page, there's the header to an email dated January 27, 2009, Tuesday. And the email states, "Just got a release today. You will receive 1,200 bottles on Thursday morning." And the subject line of that email is Oxy 30. Do you see that?
I do.
And Mr. Cochran responds to your email on January 27th, about a half an hour later. And he sends you an email, subject line Ray Oxy 30, and he writes, "Keep them coming, flying out of here. It's like people are addicted to these things or something. Oh wait, people are. Thank you, Steve." And sir, you responded to his email at 4:12 p.m. on the same day, and you sent him an email, subject line Ray Oxy Thursday. Could you please read your response to him, please?
Just like Doritos, keep eating, we'll make more.
And sir, the context of this email was you were informing him that you were releasing a shipment of Oxy 30. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it was 1,200 bottles of Oxy 30?
Yes.
Mr. Borelli, you've been handed
Thank you.
what's been marked Exhibit 32, which is an email string that starts with an email from Kate Mullenkamp to you, April 10th, 2009, MNK T10000562387. And it's a relatively long string. I'll start at the very last page. Second to last page, there's a header to an email at the bottom of the page. And if you look at that header, it's an email from Heather Goodman to Dave Irwin. And the subject is oxycodone 50 milligram tablets. The date is April 9th, 2009. Do you know who Heather Goodman is?
I do not.
Do you know who Dave Irwin is?
I do.
Who is Dave Irwin?
Dave Irwin was one of the sales team members for Mallinckrodt.
So this email starts with Heather Goodman contacting Dave Irwin and saying, Dave, I spoke with my aunt, and the independent pharmacy she chose is Dane Drugs. It provides an address in Columbus, Ohio. Her monthly prescription is 1,500 oxycodone, 15 milligrams. We have not contacted the pharmacy to let them know this is happening yet. In addition, as soon as we know that this arrangement is set up, Aunt Sandra will call her doctor and have him call in the script for her. Please let us know how you'd like to proceed. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay, and then if you turn to the next page, Dave Irwin sends a message dated April 9th, 2009 at 3:51 p.m. to Kate Mullenkamp. And again, her job is what?
She had a number of jobs at Mallinckrodt, so I don't know what she was doing. It says product manager.
Okay. And that email is CC'd to you and to John Adams. And Dave writes, Kate, here's the info we talked about earlier. Is there something I can do to help out from this point on? Heather Goodman used to report to Craig Cowman, who referred her to us. You may want to let Mike know what's going on. He will see Craig at NACDS in 2 weeks. Vic, thanks for helping set this up. Sounds like it's much appreciated. Do you see that?
I do.
And then if you go up further, Kate Mullenkamp sends an email to Dave Irwin saying, I have spoken with Victor and he thinks he can make this happen. 2 cases a month to the below pharmacy. He is working on it and should have an answer shortly, right?
Right.
And then going forward to your Friday, April 10th, 2009 email to Kate Mullenkamp with a CC to John Adams. It's also sent to Dave Irwin. You write, Kate, we need to talk when you get a moment. We can get this done today, but we have one problem. Do you see that?
I do.
Do you recall what the one problem was?
I do not.
All right, and if you move up further, Dave Irwin then sends you an email at 9:58 a.m., so shortly after, and he says, I'm sure I'll be talking to Heather Goodman later today so I can clarify this, but I did the math in my head late yesterday, and this equates to 50 tablets per day. Is that even possible? And that was sent to you. Did you, in response to this, determine whether it was possible for Heather Goodman's Aunt Sandra to take 50 15 milligram tablets of oxycodone a day?
Objects to the form.
I don't see a response to. You're asking if I responded to Dave Irwin?
Right.
I don't see a response to Dave Irwin, unless this is the response.
And I'm asking, did you recall answering his question?
1 second. Okay.
Okay, and so you don't recall answering the question about whether it's even possible for Aunt Sandra. You don't know who Aunt Sandra is, do you?
I do not.
You don't know who Heather Goodman is, do you?
I do not.
Okay, but you don't know if it's possible for this person, Aunt Sandra, to herself consume 50 tablets of oxycodone a day? You didn't answer that question.
It doesn't look like it. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. So if you go to the first page of the exhibit, you send an email to Dave Irwin and Kate Mullenkamp with a CC to John Adams, dated April 10th, 2009 at 11:15 a.m., and you say, here goes. Kate and I have spoken, and KeySource can get this done, but they need product. I think we are moving that along as we speak. KeySource has contacted the pharmacy and is setting it up as we speak. The pharmacy will place an order for this and additional products from KeySource today, and Aunt Sarah, so it's become Aunt Sarah.
I screwed that up.
Yeah,
yes.
Can walk into the pharmacy on Thursday to pick up the product. KeySource is going to try to ship the pharmacy 1 month needs at a time, so depending on what is happening with the marketplace supply demand, we may have to circle back in a month to allocate more Oxy 15 mg to them for this special circumstance. Do you see that? And then you ended with, thanks to all, especially Aunt Sarah. See that?
I do see that.
Okay, so you're thanking Aunt Sarah for this, sending her 1,500 milligrams a day, or 50 tablets per day. Now, if you go up in your email, there's a message from Kate Mullenkamp to you, April 10, 2009, 7:34 p.m. And she writes to you, Vic, thank you for all your work on this. I worked with Sarah and we were shipping to KeySource. The order should ship to them on Monday. Thanks, Kate. Right?
Yes. So I don't know who this Sarah is, and I screwed up a Sarah and a Sandra name here. But I don't know if KeySource was selling to this account, so if they were able to gain a new account, that's a good thing.
That's a pretty unusual way to gain a new account, isn't it?
Well, it's a one-off situation, so an anomaly is an anomaly, I guess.
All right.
Thank you. Am I allowed to go back on something you brought up for a moment?
Well, there's no question, but your counsel will have an opportunity to ask you questions, and you can clarify that when he asks you.
All right. All right.
So I want to make sure I understand what happened here with Aunt Sandra. Heather Goodman, who's a person who used to report to Craig Cowman. Do you know where Craig Cowman worked?
I believe Cardinal Health.
Okay, so Heather Goodman, who used to report to an employee of Cardinal Health, got in touch with Dave Irwin at Mallinckrodt and asked for 36 bottles a month of Oxy to be shipped to her aunt, to a particular pharmacy in Columbus, Ohio. Is that right?
That's what it says.
And you called a distributor client, KeySource, and arranged to have that client ship the pills to the pharmacy of the purported patient's choice, right?
I believe so.
And was it your understanding that Heather Goodman was authorized by the DEA to order Oxy for her aunt?
Is she ordering product? She's asking. She's requesting. She's not placing an order.
Okay. Do you believe she was authorized to ask Mallinckrodt to arrange for a shipment of Oxy for her aunt?
Is she ordering a shipment for her aunt?
Are you asking me a question? My question to you is, was she authorized to arrange for a shipment for her aunt of Oxy?
Object to the form.
This, like we just said, this is an anomaly. This is a strange situation. She's not placing an order. She's asking a person who then goes out to another person and then comes to me for to do something. So,
And sir, I'm asking you if it's your understanding that Heather Goodman, who used to work for Cardinal Health, is authorized by the DEA to ask Mallinckrodt to arrange for a shipment of oxy for her aunt?
I don't know Heather Goodman, so I don't know the answer to that.
And is it your understanding that you are authorized by the DEA to direct the distribution of oxy for Heather Goodman's aunt?
Object to the form.
I was asked to look into something for someone who needs pain medication. That product still would not get to that person's aunt without a prescription. So I'm not sure what you're asking me.
I'm asking you remember back at the beginning we were talking about the requirements of the Controlled Substances Act, and we went over that people who handle or are involved in the distribution of controlled substances need to be registered with the DEA. Do you remember that conversation?
I believe so.
Do you remember that the registration only permits the registrant to do what the DEA authorizes that person to do, correct?
Okay.
So do you believe you, as a result of Mallinckrodt's DEA authorization, that you are authorized to arrange for the shipment of oxy for Heather Goodman's aunt?
Object to the form.
I asked a wholesaler to contact a pharmacy period.
So can you answer my question, sir?
Object to the form.
What was the question?
Do you believe you, as a result of Mallinckrodt's DEA authorization, that you are authorized to arrange for the shipment of oxy for Heather Goodman's aunt?
Object to the form.
I didn't arrange any shipment. I didn't place an order for Dane Pharmacy. I just was asked a question to look into something, and I passed it along. That's all I did.
And do you believe that your actions were authorized by Mallinckrodt's DEA registration?
Object to the form.
I'm not sure what I did wrong. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Can we read the question back, please?
Do you believe that your actions were authorized by Mallinckrodt's DEA registration?
Object to the form.
It's a yes or no question, sir.
Object to the form.
I was just trying to be a middle person between a wholesaler and a pharmacy. A customer of mine, a wholesaler of mine, and it looks like to open up a new account. That's all I was doing. They had to make that inroad, not me.
Could you read the question back, please?
Do you believe that your actions were authorized by Mallinckrodt's DEA registration?
Object to the form.
Can you answer the question, please?
Object to the form.
I'm not sure how to respond to that.
Well, there's three possible answers. Yes, no, or I don't know.
Object to the form.
So I'll say I don't know.
Did you investigate to determine whether Aunt Sandra used the pills?
I did not.
No.
I don't believe I did. This is almost 10 years ago.
And do you know if she sold the pills?
No idea. How the heck would I know that?
Look at Exhibit 33, which I think you have in front of you. This is a message from you to Steve Cochran, dated April 10th, 2009, subject Oxy 15 milligram. You write, 720 bottles coming your way for Tuesday, Wednesday delivery. Can you set that customer up, allocate 36 bottles for Aunt Sarah, and email me back? Thanks so much for taking care of this. P.S. No commission necessary, I insist. Can you please explain this email?
From 9.5 years ago, I don't know the context, but it looks like I don't know the context.
Okay, let's walk through it. This follows on the email string we just went through. You're communicating with your customer, Mr. Cochran, at KeySource, and you're directing him precisely what to do with the bottles that you are arranging to have distributed to a pharmacy in Columbus, Ohio. Is that correct?
A small percentage of those bottles I'm asking to accommodate the CEO's contact at Cardinal.
Okay. So the downstream customer in this transaction is Dane Drugs. We went through that. And Aunt Sarah then would be the patient picking up a prescription from the downstream customer, right?
Customers, yes.
Right. And you're involved to the degree of where you're telling your distributor client what pharmacy to send these drugs to and what patient to allocate those drugs for. Is that correct?
I'm asking, not telling.
Okay. And so you're asking for 36 bottles a month to be made available at Dane Drug when she walks in with a prescription for Heather Goodman's Aunt Sarah. Is that correct?
I'm asking them to do it. I'm not telling them to do it. Thank you.
You've been handed what's marked Exhibit 34, which is more about this email string with Aunt Sandra. And if you go to the bottom, this is an email from Steve Cochran to you dated April 13th, 2009, and the subject line is, "Guess who called today? ... Do you see that?
Yes.
And at the bottom, he writes in the body of the email, Dane Drug. They wanted to know who the F this lady Aunt Sandra was that showed up looking for her oxycodone 15 milligram today. You can't make this stuff up. Dane Drug said they thought it was a crank call when KeySource called Friday to arrange the order with them." See that?
I do.
So this was a pretty unusual circumstance, at least according to Dane Drug, right?
I think I shared before that this seems like an unusual circumstance for everybody. I think I used the word anomaly. And I don't know who Dane Drug is. I don't know Aunt Sarah or Aunt Sandra. So this is a weird one, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have any idea who any of those people are, and yet you facilitated the distribution of 36 bottles a month for Aunt Sandra.
Object to the form.
I did not facilitate the distribution. I asked the question. I did not facilitate. I did not place a PO. I did not ship Dane Drug anything. I did not contact Dane Drug. I don't know who Dane Drug is.
Sir, if not for your involvement, 36 bottles a month for Aunt Sandra would not have been shipped to Dane Drug. Is that correct?
Object to the form.
I don't know if Dane Drug received 36 bottles of product. Does it say that here? It looks like they didn't because they don't know who the person is.
Well, let's move up that email string, Mr. Borelli, to the middle of the page. From Steve Cochran to you, dated April 13th. More on the subject line, "Guess who called today?" In response to your question in the email below, "So what happened?" he writes, "Maureen here said they were very nice now that they understand what is going on, filled out a credit application, so we have their account ready to go. Sounds like they might possibly order, but not positive yet." And do you see your response to that top of the page?
I do.
And that's an email from you to Steve at KeySource Medical, which I assume is Steve Cochran, and you write, what do you write? Why don't you go ahead and read that?
Bastards, thanks.
And why were
Can you repeat?
Bastards, thanks.
and why that response?
I think that this, this is again 10 years ago. So I don't know the context. I don't remember the back and forth conversations so much, nor these emails. But perhaps I'm referring to this being such a convoluted and long process, and the account not knowing who it is. I don't know who Maureen is. And then them saying, sounds like they might possibly order, but not positive. I don't remember any of this. And then perhaps I'm saying, boy, this is a long-winded process, and then they don't order. I don't know who Dane Drug is. I don't know Aunt Sandra. I don't know that person. I didn't ask him to place. I didn't tell him where to ship it. I asked them.
You took all those actions based on a request from a person you didn't know, for a person you didn't know, right?
I know Craig Calman.
You didn't know Heather Goodman?
I do not know Heather Goodman.
Don't know Aunt Sandra?
I do not.
Didn't know Dane Drug?
I do not.
And you don't know if the actions you took complied with Mallinckrodt's DEA registration?
Check to the form.
Thank you.
Showing you what's been marked Exhibit 35, which is an email string. Debates number MNKT10000560227. And all these numbers, just for the record, have been the first page of the exhibits. This is an email starts with you on March 18th, 2010 to Steve Cochran, subject Oxy 30 ml key source PO number 0016437. Is that right?
Yes.
And if you go to the very beginning of this email string on the last page of the exhibit, you send an email to Mr. Cochran on March 18th, subject Oxy 30 ml, and you state 666 cases is 3,996 bottles, which would bring you up to 5,004 bottles.
Okay.
Why is it that you would contact Mr. Cochran and tell him the number of Oxy bottles he would be receiving from Mallinckrodt?
I don't know.
If you go to the next page in the exhibit, the email above that one is from Mr. Cochran to you, dated March 18, 2010. It's more discussion of this purchase order. And he states, Victor just transmitted the following order via EDI CSOS. I take it that's the ordering system that he used to order product from Mallinckrodt?
I don't remember.
And he writes, please do not ship before 3/26/2010 or later if at all possible. Why would your customer be asking you to ship a product not before a certain date?
Check the form.
I'm not sure.
Would that have something to do with the maximum allowed product that client was entitled to receive with any particular time period?
Check to the form.
I don't know. I was thinking space management, but I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, if you go up to the next email from you to Steve Cochran, dated March 18, 2010, why don't you go ahead and read your email?
From OK? No.
Immediately above what we just went through, it starts just heard back.
Oh. Just heard back from Katie Pie. Management is pushing her to get that crap, parentheses, product, end of parentheses, out by 3/26, so it leaves that day a Friday. It'll get to you on that Monday.
And the crap product that you're talking about is Oxy 30?
I'm not sure if that's the only item on the PO that KeySource placed.
Well, it says Ray Oxy 30 ml KeySource PO, so that would suggest that it's for Oxy 30, right?
It would suggest that Oxy 30 is on that PO. I don't know what was on that PO, though.
Okay, and why would Oxy 30 and whatever else is on that PO be a crap product?
I'm not referring to it as crap product. I wrote crap product, and perhaps my email is in bad taste for humor, but I'm not referring to my product as crap.
Okay, and who's Katie Pie?
Kate,
Okay, so if you go to the next page of that email, Mr. Cochran,
I
right?
guess Kate Neely, but I'm not sure.
And there's some banter between...
You asked a question, so give me a moment to see who this Katie Pie is. I'm not quite sure. I'm going to assume a person I work with.
Kate Mellencamp.
Neely, but yeah.
And then moving up in the email string, Mr. Cochran asked you questions about a photo from a trip. Do you know what trip he's talking about?
Object to the form.
I do not.
If you flip forward to the first page of that email, Mr. Cochran asked you about an etiquette class. Do you know what etiquette class he's talking about?
I do not.
Were you required to take an etiquette class when you worked for Mallinckrodt?
I don't remember taking an etiquette class.
And this kind of banter with your customer, is this pretty typical of your relationship with Mallinckrodt's, your Mallinckrodt distributor wholesale clients?
Object to the form.
I think I shared before that I had working relationships with good ones with some and not so with others.
I take it
and the banter that goes in between.
I take it you didn't forward this conversation to Ms. Mellencamp.
I don't know if I did or not.
Been handed what's been marked Exhibit 36. Dates number MNK T10000558886. This is an email from you to Karen Harper, dated 6/23/2010. Subject line: oxycodone sales in Florida summary. Do you see that at the top of the page?
I do.
If you go down to the email below your email, it's a message from Kate Mellencamp to you, among others. And she writes, as many of you have probably heard, Harvard Drug's license to handle controlled substances was suspended this week. The predominant reason for the suspension was the sale of oxycodone in the state of Florida. Please see the attached article for additional information and details. Is that what this says? Do you see where that's written in the email? And below that, She writes, additionally, it came to our attention that Sunrise Wholesalers' DEA license was suspended pending further investigation. Although the official reason for the suspension has not been named, we are under the impression that it is due to the sale of oxycodone in the state of Florida. Did I read that accurately?
That's what it says.
And below that, she writes, the 2 wholesaler distributor license suspensions led us to do a more in-depth analysis of Covidion's oxycodone sales in the state of Florida. We specifically focused on doctors' offices and pain clinics. It appears that Harvard and Sunrise were the dominant players in this market, with over 50% of their sales coming from this market. HD, Smith, KeySource, and McKesson One Stop are next, with only 3% of their total sales coming from the doctors' offices and pain clinics. See that?
I do.
So Harvard Drug, a customer of yours.
I don't know.
Okay, at one time a customer of yours.
I don't know the timing of it all.
Were they
At
ever
one-
a customer of yours?
Yes.
And Sunrise Wholesaler, at one time a customer of yours, correct?
At one time. I don't know if it was this time frame.
And HD Smith, at one time a customer of yours.
I believe so. I don't know when I had responsibility for them.
And KeySource, at one time a customer of yours.
Yes.
And McKesson One Stop, at one time a customer of yours.
I don't remember McKesson so much. They may have been.
Okay.
Don't know.
And we talked a lot earlier about your knowledge of oxycodone distribution in Florida, but as you can see in this email that was sent to you in June 2010, 2 of your customers, and these are at one time your customers, Sunrise and Harvard, had their DEA registration licenses suspended, and this indicates that the predominant reason for the suspension was the sale of oxycodone in the state of Florida, correct?
To clinics, this piece here, to clinics in Florida, yes.
Okay. And the information about where Sunrise and Harvard Drug sold Mallinckrodt's products, that's exactly the information that was maintained in Mallinckrodt's chargeback system, right?
Object to the form.
I did not work in the chargebacks group.
But you know that to be true, correct?
Object to the form.
I think it's best if you ask someone in chargebacks the specifics on that.
But sir, you know that the chargeback system, which you occasionally asked people to look into, contained information about Sunrise's and Harvard Group's downstream customers.
Object to the form.
Yes.
And in fact, in this email, Ms. Mullenkamp is saying that a more in-depth analysis of Covidion's oxycodone sales were done, and there was a specific focus on doctor's office and pain clinics. And she was able to do that because the chargeback system data allowed her to isolate those fields, correct?
Object to the form.
It reads that way that Kate went to the chargeback system, yes.
And there's a focus on doctor's offices and pain clinics because, in fact, that's where a lot of diversion was coming from, right?
Object to the form.
I don't know that.
Well, you were sent this email in June 2010, right? And in this email, Ms. Mullenkamp indicates the DEA suspended the licenses of these 2 distributor clients of yours, right?
I don't know that to be factual. I didn't know that Sunrise had their license suspended. I didn't know that.
Okay.
And
You didn't know that after you received this email?
I don't know that to be true. I don't know. I don't remember ever hearing it. And I don't remember this email. But I don't remember
Well,
ever
look at
hearing
this email. Maybe it'll refresh your recollection. It's dated June 18, 2010. It's sent to you, and it says, it has come to our attention that Sunrise Wholesalers' DEA license was pending further investigation. So this did, in fact, inform you that their DEA license was suspended, right?
You're saying that. I don't know that to be the case. I had also heard that they turned their license in, so I don't know this to be actual.
So what you're saying is you don't know if Kate Mullenkamp is correct when she informs you that the DEA suspended Sunrise's license.
She's saying that, but in this clip of an article, it's highlighting Harvard, not Sunrise. So how do I don't know if she knows that for a fact.
Okay. So you knew from this email that Harvard's license was suspended, right?
Yes.
And that was because of sales to doctors' offices and pain clinics. That's the reason that's given, right?
I'm sorry. The reason it's given is what? This is Kate's note saying she's focusing on doctor's offices and pain clinics to pull this report.
Let's go to the top of the email from Kate, which I read. As many of you have probably heard, Harvard Drug's license to handle controlled substances was suspended this week. You see that?
I see that.
And you see that it says then the predominant reason for the suspension was the sale of oxycodone in the state of Florida. You see that?
I do see that.
Okay. So that's information that was provided to you. You see that?
Is that a question?
I'm asking you if you see that in the, no.
Oh, yes, I see that.
Okay, then you also see that she reports that Sunrise Wholesaler's DE license was also suspended, and the official reason was not named, but she was under the impression that it's due to the sale of oxycodone in Florida. Is that correct?
I can't speak for Kate. I shared with you a moment ago that I don't know this to be actual regarding Sunrise. I shared with you a moment ago that I thought that they had turned their license in. I may have read that in an article. I don't remember.
And as we discussed, you see that in her analysis, in the deeper dive she's doing, in her deeper dive into Covidion's oxycodone sales in the state of Florida, she focused on doctors' offices and pain clinics. You see that?
I do.
Do you have any idea why she would focus on doctors' offices and pain clinics?
Did someone ask her for that information to pull that information? I don't know.
So was there anything
think
about doctors' offices and pain clinics that you were aware of that would suggest that would be a good place to look for suspicious information about sales of oxycodone in Florida?
A doctor's office with a DEA license that's prescribing medicine? I don't understand the connection. I'm sorry.
So as long as the doctor's office in Florida had a DEA registration, there was no particular reason to think that there was anything inappropriate going on with Mallinckrodt's Oxy that was being shipped to that doctor's office.
Object to the form.
By me? By the DEA? I can't speak for the DEA. I don't know.
By you. Nothing that you've seen or read.
If the DEA is saying they've checked this customer out, they've authorized and assigned a DEA license, okay, you want me to question the DEA?
So that's your understanding that whether a downstream customer of a distributor client is engaged in diversion is a matter solely for the investigation of the DEA?
Object to the form.
They're the experts.
And can you answer my question?
Object to the form.
What an article says, what people say, will not be as credible as what the DEA does, in my humble opinion.
So you didn't believe you had any responsibility to know anything about a doctor's office that one of your customers was shipping oxycodone to?
Object to the form.
I don't believe I said that.
Do you disagree with that statement?
Object to the form.
You're putting words in my mouth. Do I care where our product goes? Absolutely. absolutely. And nobody in this room cares more than me.
And so, did you make sure that your distributor clients weren't shipping pills that you sold to them to dispensing physicians who were engaged in diversion?
Object to the form.
I believe that's why these accounts have people in place to monitor their customers and their practices. A DEA agent like Lewis Fisher, who worked at Sunrise, and I believe, I can't speak to the other accounts, but let's use that example. That's the person that you would rely on to vet their customer. They're not my customer. We don't ship to a Mallinckrodt does not ship to a treatment clinic, a pain management clinic, dispensing physician. Never, while I was there, never had, never have. These companies vet their customers, and they use DEA agents, whether they're on the DEA duty or they're retired and acting as consultants. I can't get any better information than that, in my humble opinion.
And so you didn't try?
Object to the form.
I didn't try what?
You didn't try and get any other information. You simply relied on your distributor client entirely.
Well, to know a
Object to the
customer's...
form.
You relied on your distributor client entirely to determine whether their downstream customers were engaged in diversion.
Object to the form.
No, I don't think I said that before either. I think I shared with you that I visit with customers on a periodic or regular basis. We did not, when Sunrise came to us years before we opened them up, did not open them up. And then when they have a Lewis Fisher, a DEA agent on site, vetting their customers for us with pictures in the front of the building, pictures in the back of the building, look in the vault, look in the customer list. I'm not going to doubt that. I don't think you can get.
And so you relied on that.
It's one of the things I relied on. I also shared that I went to customers' offices.
If you go to the top of this email string, you note to Ms. Harper in your email on 6/23/2010, Karen, KeySource is very concerned that they are on this list, so can you tell me the customers' names that make up this 3%? They are unaware and sure they do not sell dispensing physicians, so perhaps there is a coding issue. Why did KeySource not sell to dispensing physicians?
Object to the form.
I didn't work at KeySource. I don't know their business model. I don't know who they focused on or didn't focus on, so I can't answer that for them.
So there's nothing about dispensing physicians in Florida that you have any reason to believe one way or the other if it would be prudent or not prudent to send Oxy to dispensing physicians in Florida.
Object to the form.
It's unknown to you.
From this email, right, from the email from beginning to end, in the top statement, it looks like KeySource has a concern that if they're shipping to the wrong accounts that are not the right accounts to ship to, tell them so they'll shut them off.
But sir, was it the right accounts or was it the right type of accounts? Because isn't the concern of KeySource that they believe they're not shipping to doctors' offices and pain clinics, and they're put on a list that suggests they are? Isn't that the concern they're raising?
Object to the form.
The concern they're raising is who is on the list. Let them look at the list to see who might be coded wrong, stop shipping. I can't speak on behalf of KeySource. I didn't work there. I'm just sharing my insight or the way I kind of read through this email. That's all I can do.
So I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. You have no idea why, when Mallinckrodt is doing a deeper look at sales in Florida, that they would look specifically at doctors' offices and pain clinics.
Object to the form.
That's correct.
And you have no idea why KeySource would be upset if it found itself on a list that suggested that they sold to doctors' offices and pain clinics.
Object to the form.
I think KeySource would be upset if they didn't know their customers that they ship to. We know our customers. They want to know their customers. Before that, after that, it's that customer who then supplies the product to a patient who has to come in with a prescription. Nothing moves unless that prescription's written. There's not a single stitch of, whether it be atenolol, metformin, promethazine, all these items we sold, nothing moves out of the warehouse of a customer of ours until a prescription's written.
So as long as a prescription's written, there's no problem with the sale.
Can I have a drink of water? Okay, please. You sure? Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't hear
So
that.
you're just looking for whether there's a prescription written. That's prescription written.
Thank you.
That's the end of it.
Object to the form.
I didn't say that's the end of it. I said that's the start of it.
Okay. And you don't have any idea whether why KeySource might decide not to sell to dispensing physicians.
I think KeySource wants to know who we deem or who is on the list that they may have serviced or sent product to. I don't know if 3% versus others, but they don't want to have 1% on there. But again, now you're asking me to talk for KeySource, and I'm doing that too much because I don't know their business model.
I am asking you whether you have any idea why KeySource would not sell to dispensing physicians. Do you know why they would not do that?
I don't know if it was in their business model, but I can't speak for them.
So you don't know.
That's right.
We've been going about an hour. Is this a good time for a break?
Let me do one more quick document and we'll stop.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is an email string. Top page. You've been handed Exhibit 37. This is an email string from Brenda Recop to you, dated 6/23/2010. MNK T1 0000265732. If you go to the first page of the string, so last page of the exhibit, an email from Tracy Coffey to Kate, and it says, "Hi Kate, I have KeySource Medical Inc. with their address in Cincinnati, Ohio, asking if they will be able to get 12,720 bottle of 853001 on July 1st and 12,720 bottles of 853001 on July 2nd. Do you see any issues in filling these orders?" And then she says, "Jim, Brenda, FYI, this may show up on the PS hold screen." Do you know what the PS hold screen was?
The PS hold screen, I have no idea.
Okay. And then going to the next page in Ms. Recop's email to Tracy Coffey, also including you, and CC'd to Jim Roush and Rose Adams. She writes, "Victor and Mark, Kate is out of the office and this will undoubtedly show up as a peculiar order. Do you know why they are ordering so much Oxy? We need an answer that will satisfy the DEA when they have questions in the future." You see that?
I do.
And if you move up from there, it looks like you then forwarded this email that was sent to you to Steve Cochran at KeySource. And you write, "FYI, help us understand this order pattern." Do you see that?
I do.
So that's you looking into a particular order by one of your customers that has been flagged by Mallinckrodt as peculiar, right? Do you see that?
Was that a question?
Yes, I'm asking if that,
I'm sorry.
did I accurately describe the email?
Can you read back what his question was? I didn't hear a question in there. So
Well, I'll
sorry.
ask you again. Did I accurately describe the email?
Before that, I think you asked a question before that.
Okay. Did you send an email? You look at the middle of the page, Victor Borelli, your email to Steve Cochran on June 23rd, 2010. FYI, help us understand this order pattern. So you are forwarding this this information indicating that one of KeySource's orders was flagged as peculiar to your customer client. Is that right?
That's what it says. That's right.
Okay, and was that standard operating procedure for you when an order from a customer was identified as peculiar? Would you just forward the email informing you of that to your distributor client?
I think the customer service person is asking me about an order about one of my accounts at the time, so I'm asking the account, please explain your position on this.
Right, you just forwarded it to your client, right?
Object to the form.
So I don't know if I just forwarded the account. I'm sure I had a conversation with him as well.
Okay, but nonetheless, this email shows that you forwarded the question raised by Tracy Coffey and Brenda Recop to your customer client, Mr. Cochran.
You said just. You just forwarded it. You make it sound like I just forwarded the email waiting for an answer on email back. That's not how I do business, so I'm sure there's a phone call tied to this email as well.
And nonetheless, you forwarded the query that you got onto your distributor client customer, right?
Yes.
And if you go up further, your client gives you an explanation for this order, and he says, as discussed, we need to schedule the delivery times due to the lack of space in the current vault. Since KeySource sells 40 to 45,000 bottles per month, and 40% of that quantity sells in the first week of the month, I would not judge these orders as peculiar since they are just meeting current demand. Would you? So he asked you a question about whether an order was peculiar or not. Do you see that?
I see his email to me.
And so do you feel that you were qualified to answer his question as to whether his order was peculiar or not?
Don't know the answer to that. I don't know if they picked up a new account, picked up a new business. I don't know their business model, so I don't know the answer to that. But I think I don't know.
Did you want to take a break?
Yes, please.
Time is 3:49 p.m. We're going